So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the out one of you Uncle Tom ass niggas for doing it. Which one of you gonna do it first?
He performed.
Snoop is just really hilarious.
Snoop Dogg is funny,
He's doing all these things.
Snoop Dogg just got hit with a warning, and not from the law, not from a rival rapper, but from Katt Williams himself. Katt stepped out swinging, calling Snoop out in a way that had the whole room freezing up. Katt ain't known for holding back. When he speaks, every word lands like a punch, and this time his target was the dog father himself. Katt dropped a statement with zero hesitation saying, "No, sir, your career down the road. People might not want to book you in Texas or Arizona or California. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Let that happen."
Your career down the road. People might not want to book you in Texas or Arizona or California.
Sir. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Let's let that...
He threw those words out sharp, like he meant every single syllable. And when Katt talks like that, he ain't doing it for clicks or attention. He's doing it because he believes the man needs to hear it. Katt has always been that truth-telling tornado who blows through Hollywood without fear. He's been calling out folks left and right, Steve Harvey, Cedric, D.L. Hewley. Nobody's been getting a pass lately. But when he said Snoop Dogg, the air shifted. You could feel everybody thinking the same thing. Snoop ain't just a person, he's a symbol, a legend, a whole era wrapped in one name. This is the same Snoop who climbed from the madness of the death row era to global icon status. The same Snoop who went from gangster videos on MTV to smiling on daytime talk shows. The Snoop who could walk from the block straight into the White House and make it look normal. Back in the day, he even said, "Now don't know political. All you people from the federal government that ain't getting paid right now, ain't no way in the world." That was the old Snoop, raw, sharp, speaking for the people with zero filter. But according to Katt, that Snoop is long gone. Katt says the new Snoop is too polished, too friendly with power, too comfortable in rooms he used to warn us about. He says Snoop ain't rolling like the street legend he once was. Now he's rolling like a political dog, shaking hands with decision makers instead of standing up for the same streets that birthed him. And Katt wasn't whispering it. He was saying it loud enough for anybody to hear. The message came with heat, frustration, and disappointment all mixed together. Katt still respects Snoop as a pioneer who helped push West Coast culture into the global spotlight. But he feels like Snoop has drifted from the authenticity that built his whole legacy. Katt's point hits hard. He thinks Snoop traded grit for comfort, traded principles for politics, traded the voice of the streets for the approval of powerful rooms, and Katt ain't letting that slide, not when real voices are fading and fake smiles are shining everywhere. Back in the early 2000s, Snoop Dogg was like a walking monument, untouchable, respected, and stamped solid in every corner of hip-hop. He made it out of the death row madness, built his own lane, and turned into that OG everybody looked up to. Jay-Z rocked with him, Ice Cube rocked with him, and the streets treated him like a cool uncle who always had game to share. But then the shift started creeping in, real slow, real quiet, like a vibe change folks couldn't explain at first. Snoop began showing up at political events, shaking hands with the same type of people he once clown-checked in his music. He'd defend certain celebrities while staying silent when others were getting pushed out the game and fans felt something wasn't adding up. That's exactly when Katt Williams started paying attention, because Katt don't miss details. He listens, he watches, and he connects dots like a pro. Katt's always saying, when they can't control you, they cancel you. And when they can't cancel you, they recruit you. And to him, it looked like Snoop got recruited. That's a heavy word coming from Katt. And he didn't say it by accident. The real tension started building when Snoop went super quiet during some major hip-hop storms. When certain artists were getting pushed to the side, Snoop didn't step in. When people shined a light on the darker parts of the industry, Snoop played the peacemaker role instead of telling it straight. And whenever topics about exploitation came up, he stayed silent, like he didn't want smoke with nobody. But the second Hollywood threw a big event, red carpets, bright lights, cameras everywhere, there Snoop was, front row, smiling like everything was smooth. To Katt, that didn't look like loyalty. It looked like protection of status, like Snoop was guarding his seat at the table instead of guarding the people who helped build him up in the first place. So when Katt looked straight at the camera and said, "I'm sending Snoop his last warning, stop being a political dog," that wasn't entertainment. That was a challenge aimed right at someone he once admired tough. Katt wasn't bragging, wasn't clowning, he was drawing a line in the sand and telling Snoop he crossed it. In Katt's world, he says there are two types of dogs, the street dog and the political dog. The street dog is hungry, loyal, unpredictable, real to the bone. The political dog is trained, polished, obedient, and stays in line when the boss walks in. And Katt says Snoop used to be the first kind, but now acts like the second, and he ain't sugarcoating that for anybody. You can't lie. There's a little truth hiding in that statement. Snoop's on TV more than he's dropping music, doing cooking shows instead of community work, pushing products instead of pushing messages. Katt ain't mad at growth, but he's asking if this is real growth as a man or just growth as a brand. Here's where everything starts getting real deep, because Katt Williams didn't just wake up one morning and decide to aim at Snoop. There's history between these two, real West Coast history. They both came up in the same era, different lanes but the same soil, and the streets loved them both. Snoop always showed Katt respect in public back in the 2000s. They did radio spots, comedy moments, interviews, all that good energy.
Just want to say this real quick, man, on the political shit. All you people for the federal government that not getting paid right now, ain't no fucking way in the world y'all can vote for Donald Trump when he come back up again. If y'all do vote for him, y'all some stupid mother.
But over time, that vibe changed and Katt started feeling something wasn't right. Katt began noticing how Snoop was defending the same Hollywood figures Katt was calling out. When Katt dropped names like Steve Harvey, D.L. Hewley, and Cedric the Entertainer, Snoop didn't say a word, not a whisper. Then you'd see Snoop smiling in pictures with those same people like everything was perfect. To Katt, that felt shady, like mixed signals, and he wasn't about to keep quiet about it. Katt hit Snoop with a heavy line when he said, "You can't be for the people and still shake hands with the puppeteers." Everybody knew exactly who that was aimed at. And let's not act like this is the first time Snoop's loyalty's been questioned. This goes way back to the death row days. Back then, Snoop was ride or die for the streets, moving with raw energy. But after Tupac passed, Snoop changed direction, started stepping away from Suge Knight, and built new connections that had folks raising eyebrows. After leaving Death Row, Snoop linked up with No Limit, then shifted again and went full corporate. Then Hollywood welcomed him with open arms, and suddenly he was everywhere. Commercials, shows, collaborations, brand deals. And listen, that's why he's still standing today. He knows how to reinvent himself better than almost anybody. But that same adaptability is exactly why some people stopped trusting him, because it looked like he switched sides whenever it benefited him. Katt ain't attacking Snoop's success. He's questioning his heart, his soul. He's basically saying, you used to lead us. Now you follow them. Heavy words, especially from somebody the streets actually trust. And while Snoop hasn't responded directly, the internet sure did. The reaction split completely in half. One side says Katt is jealous, bitter, and mad at any entertainer who made it big in the mainstream. They say Snoop is just evolving, leveling up, moving smart in an industry that eats people alive. But the other side? They're saying Katt is the only one brave enough to say what people have been whispering for years, that Snoop's been walking with both sides, talking real but living corporate, preaching loyalty but moving with whoever cuts the nicest check. And honestly, maybe both sides got a point, because this story ain't just Katt versus Snoop, it's bigger. It's about what happens when authenticity and fame collide head on. Snoop represents survival. He made it out and stayed relevant. Katt represents rebellion. He refuses to bow down even when it costs him everything.
Yeah. Get your life right. Stop worrying about mine. I'm cool. I'm together. Still a black man. Still 100% black.
When Katt Williams said last warning, it cracked through the culture like thunder. He didn't say it soft. He didn't dress it up. He said it with that tone that makes everybody stop scrolling and pay attention. And people instantly knew he wasn't talking about some petty drama. He was talking about something bigger, deeper, and way more dangerous. Some fans think Katt was warning Snoop about karma, about the price that comes when you trade purpose for politics. Others think he was warning him about what happens when you play both sides too long, because sooner or later, both sides start turning on you. And a whole lot of folks believe Katt is simply tired of watching legends he once respected turn into versions of themselves that don't match the message that made them famous. Katt once said, "The moment you stop talking for the people stop talking for you." And that's exactly what he's trying to get across to Snoop. Katt sees this as a wake-up call, not just for Snoop, but for every entertainer drifting away from the culture that built them up. Katt's basically saying, don't lose your voice trying to please people who don't care about you. That's the warning buried under all the fire he's throwing in. And the wild part, Snoop's career is the perfect example of how complicated fame can get. He's been everything: gangster rap icon, businessman, peacemaker, actor, comedian, mogul. He earned every bit of success he has. He stayed relevant for decades without falling apart. No breakdowns, no scandals spiraling out of control, no messy public disasters. That alone is rare in this industry. But maybe that's exactly what Katt sees as the red flag. In a world where chaos is normal, being calm starts looking like you're playing it safe for the wrong reasons. Katt moves like a storm, raw, unpredictable, loud, straight up real. So when he looks at Snoop's calm, polished presence, he doesn't see peace. He sees compliance. And that's what makes this clash so intense. These two men are built from the same soil but shaped by totally different outlooks. Katt thinks Snoop got too cozy with power, while Snoop, if he ever responds, might say he just grew up and moved smarter. And that tension between growth and switching up is what keeps this entire situation on fire. One thing is certain: Katt ain't whispering a thing. His last warning wasn't a joke. If Snoop even hints at responding, Katt will come back with 10 times the energy. Katt don't back down, especially when he feels like he's speaking for the people who don't have a voice in those big rooms Snoop sits in now. This whole situation is more than a disagreement. It's a collision between truth and tolerance, between the rebel and the ruler, between two West Coast legends who took completely different routes to the same spotlight. Katt represents raw honesty, no filters. Snoop represents the dream, making it out, leveling up, and building an empire. Both started real, both changed the culture, but one refuses to play the game, and the other learned how to master it. So now, the real question hits. What exactly is Katt Williams warning Snoop Dogg about? Because Katt didn't just toss that last warning line out there for drama. He said it like a man who's been watching, studying, and connecting dots behind the scenes, and every fan could feel it. He knows something he ain't fully saying yet. Some people think Katt's warning Snoop about the danger of becoming too political. Like once you start moving with power circles, you stop hearing the voices that made you legendary in the first place. Others think he's warning Snoop about being caught in between two worlds, the culture that raised him and the system that praises him. And when you dance between both, those same rooms that hype you up can turn their back quick. Katt sees entertainers every day getting molded, softened, reshaped into something that fits Hollywood more than it fits their soul, and he refuses to let that slide. When Katt said a man loses when the streets stop feeling him, he wasn't joking. He was telling Snoop that no amount of fame, money, or political smiles can replace the respect of the community that made him iconic in the first place.
Of course, Snoop has responded to the backlash he received for performing for a Trump event. One of the things he pointed out was that we always stick together. We're good at tearing each other apart, which is pretty constant. It's pretty consistent when somebody gets into trouble. It takes backlash from the community. It's always a communal thing. It isn't any action they took. It is the fact that we can't stay together, that we can't stick together, that it's us always attacking us. But that flies in the face of the reality of what's happening right now. It is not us who are tearing down affirmative action. It is not us who is tearing down DEI. It is not us who are tearing families apart. It is not us who have decided that affirmative action and rollbacks that have been that had precedent for 50, 60 years are gone. It is not us that is doing it. It is, I think most people are disappointed because they saw you a specific way, and you have a right to kind of interpret and do whatever artistically you want to. No one's begrudging you that. But why the attack on the community because they disagree with something you did?
But the story cuts even deeper than that, because Snoop's career shows just how tricky the climb can be. This man has lived 1,000 public lives: rapper, mogul, actor, host, entrepreneur. He survived eras that swallowed other artists whole. He evolved, he adapted, he advertised, he rebranded, he turned his whole name into a business. You can't deny his brilliance. But with every new move, another question creeps in louder. Is Snoop still connected to the raw truth he once stood on? Or did he get too polished, too comfortable, too political? Because the same Snoop who once stood strong saying F the system is now sitting on talk shows cracking smiles with people who are the system. And that contrast, that's what Katt can't deal with. Still, nobody, and Katt included, can erase what Snoop did for the West Coast. He lifted artists up, created opportunities, put the culture on his back, and stayed consistent for years. His career aged cleaner than most. No messy collapses, no public explosions, no breakdowns on camera. He stayed smooth through storms that could have broken him. But Katt looks at that calm and sees something else. Compliance. And that's why this tension feels explosive, because Katt isn't calm. He's fire, chaos, honesty, and unpredictability all at once. So when he looks at Snoop's polished image, he doesn't see growth. He sees surrender. And that's the part Katt refuses to accept. This is becoming more than a disagreement. It's turning into a cultural split. On one side, you got fans saying Snoop is doing what a survivor does. He learned the game and beat it. On the other side, you got people saying Katt is the last brave voice calling out things everyone else is too scared to say. And everyone knows, if Snoop even breathes in Katt's direction with a comeback, this whole thing might blow up 10 times bigger. Because Katt don't tap out, he turns up, and the spotlight is only getting hotter from here. So here we are, standing at the edge of something that could turn into one of the biggest cultural clashes hip-hop has seen in years. Because this ain't just Katt Williams versus Snoop Dogg. This is a collision between two mindsets, two lifestyles, two ways of surviving fame. Katt represents raw truth, unfiltered and fearless. Snoop represents the dream, making it out, growing up, and turning success into a global empire. Both of them changed the game, but now they're staring at each other from opposite sides of the room. And the wildest part, this whole situation might explode without either of them even saying another word. Because in this industry, silence is louder than any statement. If Snoop stays quiet after Katt's warning, people won't take it as peace. They'll take it as a sign that power still has a heavy influence on who speaks and who stays silent.
When Katt
And
sends
Katt,
a warning,
he already
it's
laid his
never
message
for
out with
attention.
fire.
He means
You can't
it.
mistake
He
his meaning
doesn't
for
chase
anything
clout.
else.
He
Katt's
drops
basically
truth
saying,
bombs when
don't
he's
lose
got
yourself
something
just to
real
keep
to
your
say.
spot.
And according
Because
to
once your
Katt,
voice gets shaped
Snoop's
by
playing
fear
with
or
fire,
approval,
caught in
the
a
streets
game
can
where
feel it
loyalty,
instantly.
power,
And
and
if the
truth.
streets stop feeling you, that's the real loss. Not charts, not commercials, not corporate deals, but connection. That bond that made Snoop a legend in the first place. Snoop's career shows how complicated this balance truly is. The man became a mogul without crashing out, without burning bridges, without losing his cool. He raised West Coast hip-hop to new heights, put people on, created jobs, and built opportunities in places that needed them. He gave the culture wins nobody can deny. But Katt sees something risky in that calm, polished image. The possibility that the same system Snoop once stood against might be the same system he's now protecting. And that's why this story feels far from over, because Katt doesn't throw last warnings lightly. He said it with a tone that made the whole internet sit up. If Snoop responds, even with something small, the entire situation might blow open with 10 times more heat. Katt doesn't back down and Snoop doesn't fold, so whatever happens next could shake both comedy and hip-hop in ways nobody's ready for. This whole thing is a battle between truth and tolerance, rebellion and structure, the loud and the calm, the rebel and the ruler. It's rare to see two legends collide like this, especially when both of them helped build the culture they're now debating about. And the world is watching every second of it unfold. Now we gotta ask the real question, what do you think? Did Katt Williams just say what everyone's been thinking but too scared to admit? Or is he pushing too hard on a man who simply learned how to survive the industry without losing his mind? Drop your thoughts below and let's talk about it. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and make sure you leave a comment so we can keep breaking down the stories the streets really care about. Street Fame Files is locked in. Let's keep this conversation going.